Chapter 6. Tick-tock. A dark shadow fell over Barry from the top of the stairs. "I'm sorry. I swear I was going to put it back." Barry raised his hands in fear, waiting for the slice of Captain Hook's sword. "Barry?" He lowered his arms slowly. What he saw wasn't Captain Hook, but it might have been worse. His father stared at him from the upper deck, and he did not look happy. "Put what back?" Dad said. His brows knit together and his lips curved down into his signature disapproving father expression. "Where have you been? We've been searching the ship everywhere for you." Nothing. Nowhere. Barry couldn't tell his dad that he had stolen something from the museum. "I guess I wanted to explore the ship on my own, and I got a little lost down here." His father shook his head. "Barry, you need to grow up and stop acting like a little kid already. I know how much you enjoy slothing, but you can't just wander off like that without telling anyone." "Right. I'm really sorry," Barry said, looking down in shame. "I just really got interested in Captain Hook, and I wanted to find out more about him." It wasn't exactly the truth, but it wasn't a lie either. He did sneak off to learn more about the pirate captain. "Well, I can understand getting captivated by a piece of real history," Dad said. His angry expression evaporated. "Even so, your birthday's tomorrow. You're almost 12 years old now. You need to start taking responsibility for your actions." "I will. I promise," Barry said, relieved that his dad was softening. "I know you're right. Come on," Dad said. "Everyone's waiting for us by the gangplank. Let's inform them that you didn't fall overboard." He chuckled at his own bad dad joke. Even though Barry still felt jittery, he forced out a laugh. As they headed through the ship, Barry could feel the hook weighing down his backpack. He glanced back at the stairs that led to the captain's cabin. He still wanted to put the hook back, but he couldn't risk letting his dad or anyone else find out that he stole an artifact from the museum, especially when his father was already angry with him. Not to mention it was probably like a major crime. What had he been thinking? There was no way he could fix it right now without getting caught. He'd have to put the hook back another time. With a sigh, he pulled his eyes off the stairs and followed his dad. "Go apologize to your mother," Dad suggested as they headed back toward the tour group. "You really scared her. Even Rita was worried about you." They approached Mom and Rita, who pulled a fake concerned face. "Yeah, you shouldn't scare us like that," Rita said. "It's very uncool." Barry scowled. He highly doubted that Rita was worried about him. She loved putting on an act for their parents like she cared and was the perfect daughter, when really, she'd probably be thrilled if he disappeared at sea. Mom looked relieved. She hugged him fiercely, but then she went rigid. She stood up and crossed her arms, staring down at him. "You need to act more like your sister," she said, shuffling her purse to the other shoulder. "She knows better than to disappear like that." Rita flashed a smug grin. She loved anything that made her look better than Barry. "Does that mean I get a later curfew?" Rita asked, trying to take advantage of the situation. "We'll discuss it later," Dad said. "Now, let's hit the gift shop before they close. Barry has taken a special liking to the pirate captain. Maybe I'll get him a little something extra for his birthday." The last thing Barry wanted was anything to do with pirates after the whole escapade on the ship. But he couldn't exactly say that, so he forced a smile. "Thanks, Dad. Sounds great." Dad clapped his shoulder. "Bud, I knew you'd come around and like history too. I'm so proud of you." As they headed down the gangplank, Rita smirked and whispered, "Too bad you didn't really fall overboard, goober, so I could get out of driving carpool." That confirmed it. Rita was evil. But before he could respond, the gangplank shuddered under his feet, jolted by a big wave. Barry grasped at the rope railing, feeling his stomach flip. He glanced back at the ship. He could see the windows in the bow, and through them, the captain's cabin. Suddenly, a shadow flashed past the window. "Hey, did you see that?" Barry gasped, pointing. Rita rolled her eyes. "See what, Goober?" "The museum is closing. There's nobody on the ship." "Over there, in the cabin," he said, pointing. But then he lowered his hand. Whatever he saw, if he really did see something, was gone. "I swear, there was something in the captain's cabin." Barry squinted at the ship, but the sun had almost set, and it was growing darker, like a ghost. He trailed off, realizing how lame that sounded. "Geez, you really are a child," Rita said, with an exaggerated sigh. "Stop making up stupid stories and trying to scare me. That might work on your lame friends, but it won't work on me." She tramped off, leaving him clinging to the railing with his heart thumping heavily in his chest. Though he hated to admit it, his sister was right. He was acting super lame right now. Everyone knew there was no such thing as ghosts. His eyes were playing tricks on him again. What is wrong with me? He had to get it together. He straightened up and sidled down the gangplank, trying to ignore the strange noise that now seemed to be following him. It was faint, but unmistakable during the lulls when the waves receded, sucked back out to sea. Tick-tock, tick-tock. The waves churned and receded. Then he heard it again. Tick-tock, tick-tock. "It's not real," Barry muttered, plugging his ears. "It's not real." He glanced down at the dark, turbulent water. The sun had fully set now, and the water was aqua cool. But he knew that things lived down there. Slimy things. Dangerous things. Hungry things. But nothing could make that noise. "I must be going crazy," he thought, as he staggered off the gangplank and onto dry land. But even off the boat, the swaying of the ocean stayed with him, making him feel dizzy and nauseous the rest of the night. It haunted him like a ghost. After a hasty take-out pizza dinner with his family, since his parents were busy scrambling to get ready for the week at work, Barry pretended to be tired and excused himself for bed. But really, he just wanted to be alone. He could feel the hook in his backpack calling to him. "Good night, birthday boy," Dad said with a smile. He was paying a big stack of bills on the kitchen table. "Get some rest for your big day tomorrow." "Wow, I can't believe my little boy is turning 12, Mom added from the kitchen, where she was pivoting another slice of pizza. "Where does the time go? You're almost all grown up." "Yeah, next year the goober will be a teenager," Rita snarked, looking up from her algebra textbook. "Freaky." "Yeah, freaky," Mom agreed, picking off the pepperoni. "I remember when you could fit in my arms. Now look at you." "Time sure flies," Dad agreed with a nostalgic chuckle. "Don't worry, I'll pick up your cake tomorrow morning," Mom added, checking her lengthy to-do list on the whiteboard by the wall calendar. "So it's all ready for the party after school." Thanks," Mary said, backing away. "See you tomorrow." The truth was, he wasn't sure how to feel about any of it. Well, besides the chocolate cake. He felt pretty good about that life choice. But he didn't want to grow up. His mom was right. It all happened so fast. He wasn't ready. He left Rita at the kitchen table, agonizing over her algebra homework, and slipped into his bedroom. He shut the door, then set his backpack on his bed. His heart beat faster as he unzipped it and pulled out the hook, inspecting it more closely. It was rusty and tarnished, but underneath the gunk he could see a shimmer of silver metal. He ran his hands over the curve, testing the heft. The tip was still as sharp as ever. He was careful not to prick his finger again. For fun, he slashed at the air with it, jumping on his bed. "Stay back, mateys," he said in his best pirate impression. "Ye don't want to mess with Captain Barry." Then he set the hook down on his pillow and pulled out the parchment paper. Careful not to tear it, he unfolded the letter and reread the cursive script. "Whoever possesses my hook will have the power to never grow up." "That's what I want," Barry thought with a thrill. "I don't want to turn 12. He waited for something to happen, some indication that the hook could grant his wish. Maybe it could glow, or float, or sparkle. But nothing happened. The hook just sat there on his pillow. Barry sighed. He was an idiot for thinking it had any special powers. From the kitchen, he could hear his parents telling Rita to take out the trash before bed, followed by her usual complaints about too many chores. Then he heard her tramping up the stairs to bed. Rap, rap. He jerked his head up. His heart caught in his throat. Quickly, he tucked the hook under the pillow to hide it. He couldn't let anyone catch him with the stolen artifact. He grabbled on the bookshelf by his bed for a book, any book, to pretend like he'd been reading. He found one, then flipped to a random page and propped the book on his lap. "Come in," he called out, trying to keep his voice steady. Slowly, the door creaked open. Rita poked her head in. She frowned at the book in his hands. It was Little Women. He felt his cheeks burning. He'd never read it. The book was a hand-me-down from his sister, of course, and he pretty much never intended to read it. "Thought you only liked mysteries," Rita said suspiciously. It's a signed reading. For school," he stammered. "Well, I won't keep you from your Little Women," Rita said with a chuckle. "But I just wanted to say, happy almost birthday, Goober." Thanks," Barry said with a trepidation, waiting for her snarky comeback or her ulterior motive for being nice to reveal itself. But she just looked pensive. She bit her lower lip. "You're lucky. You're only turning 12, she said with a weary sigh. "Wait, what do you mean?" Barry said, surprised. "You love birthdays. You were so excited for your sweet 16 party. You couldn't stop talking about it." And it was true. For practically a whole year, she turned into a psychotic birthday princess and annoyed him and anyone else unlucky enough to be in earshot. "I was excited." Past tense, Rita said as her shoulders sagged. She looked haggard. "Listen, I thought it would be great, but it's not. It's like the complete and total opposite. I have more chores and homework than ever. I never have any free time. I'm always stressed out." Barry took that to heart. "Is it algebra?" Rita groaned. "Ugh, don't remind me. I've got an exam tomorrow. Exponential equations are gonna kill me." "But what about getting your driver's license?" Barry said. "Having a later curfew. Getting to go to parties. What about Todd?" he added, unable to suppress a wicked grin. "Please, I barely have time for my friends anymore," Rita complained. "But you're always talking to them," Barry pointed out, "and texting them, like, non-stop." Her phone vibrated with a new text message, as if proving Barry's point. She pulled it out of her pocket and frowned at the screen. "Yeah, it's relentless." She met his eyes, turning more serious. "Listen, it's school, but it's more than that," she confessed. "Like, I miss my old friends from when I was a little kid. Remember Hannah and Jessie?" "Yeah, what happened to them?" Barry said. He'd noticed Rita didn't spend much time with them anymore, but he figured that she had a new group of cooler friends now that she was in high school. Not to mention her obsessive crush on Todd. "Really, I don't know," Rita said with a sigh. "We used to be inseparable. We did everything together, remember? But when we got older, it's like we grew apart. We don't have the same interests anymore. We're not in the same classes. We're on different tracks." "But what about Brooke?" Barry said. "And, well, Todd. You've got all these cool new friends. Rita shook her head. Yeah, but it's not the same. There's like all this crazy pressure to fit in and say the right thing, she confessed. Look, you wouldn't understand. You're too young. I didn't get it either until it happened to me. I never felt that way around my old friends. I could just be myself with them. It was true, Mary knew. She did always seem stressed out or worried about something. She was always doing her hair and makeup, or agonizing over the perfect outfit to wear to school, or talking to Brooke about what to say to impress Todd the next day. All I wanted was to grow up and become an adult, but I didn't realize how hard it would be, she went on, backing out of his room. She met his eyes one last time from the doorway. Just trust me. Stay a kid for as long as you can. With that, she shut his door. He counted to 10 slowly, waiting until she was safely ensconced into her bedroom with her door closed. Then he pulled the hook out from under his pillow and stared at it. His sister's word echoed through his head. Trust me. Stay a kid for as long as you can. He glanced back at the letter, rereading the message for the 100th time. Maybe he should give the hook a chance to work first. Maybe it just needed more time. I want to stay a kid forever, he whispered to the hook for a second time. Then he tucked it under his pillow, patting the pillow down to make sure the hook was hidden. That's my wish. Suddenly, his eyelids felt heavy. After everything that had happened earlier, he was beyond exhausted. He laid his head on the pillow and quickly fell into a deep slumber. Thump, thump. Barry woke up and instantly froze. It was the same sound from the boat. A ripple of fear rushed through him. He cracked his eyes open, but his bedroom was still dark. It was the middle of the night. Pale moonlight drifted through the sheer curtains. He sat up, scanning his room. It was dark and shadowy. He strained to listen closer. The noise grew louder. Thump, thump. The heavy footsteps again. His heart stuttered in his chest. It sounded like they were coming from under his bed. How was that possible? Nothing big enough to make those sounds could fit under there. He was probably just hearing things again, he thought, annoyed at himself for being so jumpy. He was about to drift off back to sleep when, suddenly, he felt warm breath tickle the back of his neck. He jolted upright, rigid with fear. He scanned his room, but it was empty. Nobody was there, but it started to feel cold, unnaturally cold. His breath came out like fog, as if it was winter. And then he heard it again. Thump. Thump. The sound was definitely coming from under his bed. Something, or someone, was under there making that noise. Shivering, Barry leaned over his bed to peer under it and squinted into the thick darkness. He couldn't see anything. Blindly, he felt around under the bed, looking for the source of the noise. His fingers brushed dust bunnies, wrinkled comic books, a football, and old pizza crust. Ugh, he really had to clean his room. Then his fingers brushed metal. Cold metal. Terrified and barely breathing, Barry moved his fingers over the object. It curved around into the shape of a hook. He grasped it and pulled it from under the bed. It was Captain Hook's hook. How did it get under the bed? Barry scanned his memory. He clearly remembered stashing it under his pillow after he made his wish. Maybe he accidentally knocked it off the bed in his sleep? That was the only explanation. Still, feeling unsettled, he straightened up, clutching the hook. He listened closer, but the thumping noise was gone. He was probably hearing things. He shook his head. Everything was still. Everything was fine. He started to drift off again, when suddenly a shadowy hook slashed out at him from under the bed, whistling by his ear. Zing! Barry jumped back, holding the hook to his chest. What the? Another hook shot out. Then another. Then another. Barry curled up against his headboard, trying to make himself smaller. The hooks slashed at him one by one, cutting through the air. Barry dropped his hook and grabbed his pillow, holding it out in front of him for protection. Stop! Don't! Leave me alone! The hooks dug into the pillow, shredded the casing. Feathers rained down around him like confetti in the dim moonlight. It's a dream, Barry whispered to himself, trembling. It's just a dream. Then, a large shadow slithered out from under the bed. The shadow grew taller and taller, forming into the shape of a man. He loomed over the foot of the bed and raised his left arm. The outline caught the moonlight. It ended in a bloody stump. Barry blinked at the shadow. Captain Hook? The shadow drew its sword. Barry cowered back in fear. No, please don't hurt me, Barry pleaded. I swear, I didn't mean to take it. But Hook raised his sword, aiming the tip right at Barry's neck. You're not the first scary brat to play a childish prank on me, but you will be the last, he sneered. I'm sorry, I'll put it back, Barry begged, but Hook loomed over the bed. I shall have my revenge. His sword shot out at Barry's neck.